still cover a whole lot more. Enjoy higher discounts and better coverage for any kind of vehicle, car, SUV, or pickup with free loss of use, windscreen cover, and special perils. To sign up, call us at 440-4447 or log on to beacon.co.tt and settle for more today.
2 times 2 is 4. 2 times 3 is 6.
Education multiplies their chances and places the world of opportunity in their hands. No matter where they are in the world, make sure they're prepared for their journey back to school with Western Union. School fees, books, room and board, whatever the reason. Knowledge, independence, opportunity. Western Union, moving money for better.
And we are back inside the ladies' room for today, Monday, March 7th. Good morning, Marianne. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to another show. And today we're kicking it off with our guest. Of course, we're looking forward to International Women's Day that's coming up, and we'll have our guest speak on that, and of course other things relating to women and where we are on this beautiful rock. Good morning, Keisha. Good morning, Rita. Good morning, Sanafina. Good to have you here. Come on in, guys, and share the live. All the ladies and women out there tuned in. Good morning, Rita. I'm doing good. Thank you so much. Hope you are as well. Yep. So come on in the live and hit the share button so we can have, get the conversation on the way. Hold on. Let me just make sure that I shared myself. And you can do that while I await a couple more of you coming into the room. March 8th. And also to let you know, in case you missed the flyer, we're expecting Leslie and Sion inside the ladies' room as well, and I'm anticipating a very good conversation. So Tuesday, March 8th is celebrated as International Women's Day, and we want to speak on that, why we celebrate it, and of course what it is all about. Yeah, so I think we can get this show on the way right now and introduce our guest to you. We have Miss Lorice Pascal. I guess her name should not be something you've heard for the first time, because she's been around for a while, championing the cause of women and of course involved in women affairs for a pretty long time. So let me just say good morning to her and give her the opportunity to introduce herself and tell us a bit about what she does and of course what tomorrow is all about. So welcome everybody. Welcome in the building. Good morning, Miss Pascal. Welcome. Good to have you here.
Good morning, indeed. I haven't seen you for quite a while.
I know. How are you though?
Oh, doing pretty good.
Fantastic.
As you said, still in the struggle.
Still fighting a good fight.
I think we'll do that until the end.
That's definitely commendable. You've been around for a while, speaking on women and issues and stuff like that. And of course, this morning it's no exception. So maybe for the benefit of those who, for whatever reason, have never heard of you, you can tell them a little about yourself and your involvement in the things women do.
Okay, so I currently
come a little closer to the mic. Mm-hmm.
I am based at the Ministry of Social Development, Housing and Community Empowerment. And of course, most people know me from working with the Grenada National Organization of Women. What I do is continue to champion the cause of women, and particularly looking at how we could level the playing field as far as gender equality is concerned. So I continue to do that where I'm based now at the ministry, and of course have other interest in women's development, for example.
Just come a little closer because you're soft spoken, so we're not hearing you too loudly. Okay. Mm-hmm.
So with the Sir Optimist International of Grenada, was a past president, and so we continue to struggle to fight for the cause of women, to empower, to lead, and to make sure and educate them, of course, so that they could live peaceable life.
Yeah. And someone says you're very low, so you need to give us a little bit more volume.
I'm very low, so I'll have to shout.
Yeah, not shout, but just speak louder. Yes.
Like a louder.
Uh-huh.
Okay, I'll do that.
Alrighty. So, like you said, from Gina to now, Ministry of Social Development. What was that transition like? What are some of your responsibilities there?
Well, the truth is the same because we're talking about social justice and gender justice, where I was based at GNL. And of the ministry, of course, we're doing the same thing. Currently, I'm involved in a project called the Spotlight Initiative. And I guess it should be a household name by now because it was since 2019. But really, we started in 2024 and we're working around the same issues of gender equality and eradication of violence against women and girls. So that's the main premise of which this program is going forward. So I'll be referencing Spotlight in this program.
They say they're hardly hearing you.
Oh, I need.
Yes, that's way better now. Yeah, so
Well, I'm right up in
yeah,
the mic.
so stay
Sorry.
right up there. Yeah.
Yes. So looking at is it seems to be like time immemorial that we've been saying the same thing over and over.
Mhm.
And we're wondering, but what are the gains? Or what have we what are the achievements? What have we seen that we're making a difference? And what I like about working on this project is because we can see the gains and we can see the progress. Because the Grenada got this project, the Spotlight Initiative, because when the funders were looking at who islands to include in this project, Grenada One is the only island in the OECS, and Grenada One because they were looking at our legislative reform, how we are able to put laws in place around gender-based violence. We report on our treaty bodies like the CEDAW, the Convention on Elimination of all forms of discrimination against women, and of course the child rights one. We report on these. So when I look at they say Grenada, yeah, we need to give Grenada this opportunity because Grenada have an opportunity of upscaling what we are currently doing. So this is where we are at.
Now you mentioned a while ago that sometimes you look at where you are, and then of course where you've been, and the fight continues and all of that. Now, what are some of the challenges that over the years you think women have undergone, or probably some of the issues that you'd like to highlight regarding women and of course our place in society, and we can probably make a comparison between then and now, because I said I've known you for a very long time, Gina, and now you're here at the ministry. What are some of the issues that comes to the forefront where women are concerned?
Okay, so the theme for International Women's Day, which we have chosen, the different themes. This one is a civil society theme, and it's called "Break the Bias: Gender Equality Today for a Sustainable Tomorrow." So when you look at what is that all about, what bias we have to break, all of us, we have inherent biases, and sometimes that comes out forcibly, sometimes subtly, as you call. And so when we look at this same old age problem, and we're looking at gender-based violence, that is problematic for us, and it continues to be. And Arona, I was always in the forefront of that struggle. And so we had a couple of years ago, I think 2019, when we had a survey for the first time, a prevalence survey called Women's Health and Life Experience Survey. So that before we used to use a lot of administrative data, so it was kind of hit and miss. But now we know and we can say categorically that violence against women and girls continue to be perpetuated in Grenada. So, for example, that survey said 29% of all women experience at least one form of violence, including physical or sexual violence, during her lifetime.
29%.
So that's quite a lot.
When was that survey done?
It was done 2018. 2018, yeah.
And now we're in 22.
Yes.
So I'm imagining that number is no longer at 29%.
No,
because there's a lot that could influence domestic violence. And seeing that we just sort of coming out of a pandemic, I've had reports and I've spoken to a lot of folks who said that the pandemic sort of highlighted some of these issues, namely domestic violence, because we had folks locked down in close proximity for almost how long. Normally, it's like a revolving door. You go, we in, we out, we go to work. But there was a point where we had to be together, and folks then realized, you know what, I really don't like this person. And then the issue started, and then the violence started against women within the household. Arguments maybe stemming from frustration or um not sure, uncertainty, or whatever it is. Not that there's ever an excuse for it, but there are a number of women who came to the forefront, who've messaged me several times and speaking on the fact that they really wish we can go back to normal soon and to be able to go back to work, because this is what's happening. Tempers are flaring, exchange of words and even exchange of hands happening within the household. So COVID also highlighted, brought a lot of that to the forefront. Now, with that being done in 2018 and now we're in 22, like I said, I imagine it's way more, because a recent study wasn't done to us to know the exact number, but I can imagine it's way more right now. So, where from a ministry's perspective, any programs, anything that was done to help persons who are either victims or perpetrators themselves, to whether educate or whatever you were doing?
Yes, we have. And prevalence survey are done every 5 or 10 years, so you wouldn't see one going quite now. But as you rightly said, in fact, it was called the shadow pandemic. So domestic violence, because it was escalated during that period of time, and so they had to name it, and it was globally across the world. So they called it the shadow pandemic. So you had incidents of, as you said, increase in violence, increase in physical and sexual violence in particular, and of course the economic fallout of that for women having to stay home, in particular if you're a single-headed household. So you can imagine the trauma. So for the ministry, we're able to put in place psychosocial support for both victims and the perpetrators, because we recognize that if you want to break the barriers and to allow us to have gender equality for sustainable development, we need to be looking at the perpetrators. So this whole concept which we are promoting now is, how can we celebrate not only our women, but also how can we give the men a little peek in at this celebration time. In terms of, I'll come back to that though. I want to answer your question first, what I've been doing. Now, under the Spotlight Initiative, it offered great opportunity for the ministry to upscale these services, what you call essential services. Don't forget that the ministry is one of the first responders. So you have the law enforcement, the social services, health, and of course the judiciary. So the first responders. So when women were coming for, in particular, reporting cases of domestic violence, what we have done, we have made that experience as seamless as possible and put in place so that she will not be doubly traumatized by having to even repeat her stories more than multiple times. So we have put in place making sure that all the services that she needs, that they are in place. So that has been done. So if she needs to go to Cedar's home, that was done without delay. So we try to minimize on the trauma of delay and worry, what is going to happen to my children, and etc. We took all of that away. We still have room for improvement, of course, but we have managed to upscale those essential services, which we feel is very important for when a woman is traumatized. We have room now where the woman can come in and discuss with us what is happening in her life and where does she want to go with it? What are her immediate needs, and to take care of those immediate needs. Usually, we need something to eat, we need someplace to sleep, so we try to provide those.
Somebody is making the comment that now might be a good time to do another survey rather than wait for the 5-year cycle to pass, especially after COVID, to be able to deal with increased numbers. Who are the ones responsible for doing these surveys? So,
well, when we did the survey, it was one of the UN women who this is the first time since we've been reporting more than 30 odd years that Grenada was able to have that survey. And so the prevalence survey is not, we have administrative data
Mhm.
which we can use. We could get at every year there is administrative data, but to understand the prevalence of say 3 in 4, what I'm mentioned when I mention this kind of statistics of 29%, that's 3 in 4, the ratio of women ever partnered would have domestic violence. So you have to look at it over a time period to get that kind of statistics. So we have administrative data. We could say that how many people would have come and received help because of domestic violence. But to get a prevalence, how prevalent is this? Is something, yes, I want to agree with the caller that we could be doing, if it's every 5 years, we actually be up for another one to come. Yeah.
All right. What are some other issues that you can speak on relating to women? And of course, as you said, we're looking at it from a civic point of view this year. Can you highlight some of those?
So when we look at
Civil.
what is happening and we want to break the bias, usually we men, and we make no apology because that is what the statistics would have shown us, the prevalence survey would have shown us, that they are majority in the perpetrator. We're not saying that women are not perpetrators of violence. So if they are, what we're trying to do this year is to kind of look at men, take them out from, because we have a lot of men who are supporting the cause. And so we want to look at highlighting men who are not ashamed to come forward and say, listen, we need to change this conversation. We need to have a paradigm shift as it relates to us men perpetrating violence. Under the Spotlight Initiative, we had a program called, it's one of the pillars, the Initiative has 6 pillars. And pillar 3 speaks about prevention and social norms. So if you want to prevent something, that means you have to take all aspect on board of what can cause prevention. And so we did bus wraps. I don't know if you've seen it, Arona.
Yes, I've seen a couple.
You've seen a couple. Some of the men, the sticker, where we give them a period of time to put the sticker on. So we give them 6 months. The 6 month has long passed, and we have men still have the stickers on their buses. We recognize those men as champion for the cause. And when you interview them, you're hearing them saying, I've made a difference. Because what the sticker on my bus, men come up and ask me, what is this all about? And I'm able to share with them that, discipline your child is all could be done by examples. How I live, how I portray my life. And so I'm changing the conversation by the way I behave. And that's why that sticker is still on my bus.
Gotcha. Now, for those joining us who probably missed the start or not sure what we're talking about, we've got Miss Lorice Pascal here from the Ministry of Social Development. And of course, we're speaking on women issues and some of the things that women undergo. And tomorrow being International Women's Day, thought it was fitting to have something from, the ministry's point of view. Now, in case you're not aware, maybe you can tell us a little bit about International Day and what it is all about and why it's celebrated.
Okay. So it's very historical. And I think so. It started in 1908 when the whole consciousness of women's rights came to the fore. And so women oppression, there was a lot of inequality. And so it kind of spurred women to kind of look for change. And it started when a group of women, they say 15,000 women from a clothing and textile factory, I think that a problem there of wages and hours of work, to them put down tools and march on the Lower East Side of Manhattan and to expressing the disgust of the way they were treated as women. Because it was the industrial boom, and so they were overworked and all of that. So they marched against that for better wages and better hours of work. So from that time, in 1913, 1914, the First World War, so it was celebrated in February. And so in the First World War, the women of Germany, they were also looking for peace and campaigning for peace. So they took to the street as well, and then it was declared, I think, one of the conventions in Copenhagen, where March 8th was given the day for celebrating International Women's Day, and it has been that until today. So looking at more than, I think we passed 106 mark already of celebration of International Women's Day. And it's all because women are looking for what a term bread and roses. You give us what is due to us economically so we could feed our families, and roses, we need our dignity.
Makes sense.
Mm.
So now that now that we understand what March 8 is all about, and of course we've been highlighting some of the other issues. Anything else you'd like to bring to the forefront regarding that?
I also wanted to look at a group of persons who we tend to, and when we're looking of changing the bias, we're looking at those marginalized population, in particular, persons with disabilities.
Mm-hmm.
And so we need to bring them into the conversation, because one of the our celebration event is going to be around person with disabilities, and we'll be looking at how we can change the conversation around, because they need to be respected, and we need to, because a lot of violence happening around that group, both male and female, they suffer quite a lot as it relates to gender-based violence, in particular sexual violence, but also economically. We know that they are sidelined. And so we need to have a conversation of how we can make the public aware of what is happening to them. As in, there's nothing for us without us. That's one of the slogans they're using now. And so we need to bring them in the conversation and onto the on the table in the discussion. What I like a little shift that the ministry is also doing is having a public-private partnership. And tomorrow, the ministry is going to sign an MOU with one of the popular hotels, a recent one. So looking at bringing the conversation around safe spaces in the workplace, and how we can develop persons, women in particular. Okay, we work a lot in the hospitality industry, and especially women who are victims and survivors of domestic violence, how we can create a place, a niche for them in the workplace, and making sure the workplaces are safe for them. And we know the majority in Grenada, we can speak to that. And so, but we just want to kind of underpin what our focus is and what we're doing going forward. One of the things that we're going to do.
Come closer to the mic again.
I moved away.
You moved your face.
I moved my face. Okay. So we're going to. I spoke about breaking the barriers and looking at men and celebrating men as well. And we're also going to look at doing messages, public service messages, and what that is meaning for us. No, one of the things that we must remember, that Grenada signed on to a lot of treaties and conventions. And coming up at the end of March, we're having a treaty body delegation coming to Grenada. And this is new, because normally when you're reporting on your convention, you go to Geneva, but Geneva is coming to us. So this is a little different. And so from the 23rd to the 24th, a group of, the Ministry of Social Development, will be asking to respond to questions around the Convention on the Rights of the Child and the Convention on the Elimination of discrimination on our forms of discrimination against women. And so after that, we have to submit our national report of what all we have done, whether it's economic wise, whether it's social wise, whether the gender equality, all aspects. With rural women, we have to report on what we have been doing. And Grenada has been doing very well so far. So that is going to form part of our celebration. And what else are we going to do now? Let's see. So I spoke about disability. I spoke about celebrating men. Oh, we have something called where we're going to ask the different, we call it, let me get the right name. If you just bear with me 1 second, I will just get the name. I just want to say the thing correctly as it is.
Good morning, Lydia. Lorice Pascal is a guest this morning. She said she's late and missed it.
She missed it.
Yes, Ministry of Social Development. Of course, tomorrow being International Women's Day, we're sort of highlighting, the issues surrounding women, and of course, what the day is all about, and how it will be celebrating from our end. It is an international celebration day. Something that's celebrated internationally. So, and of course, our neck of the woods will have our own, events and what have you to mark that day. But we just wanted to highlight some of that today.
Okay. So we also want to do something called um, looking at how we could speak to a woman around, stress. 'Cause we are on a lot of stress, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so we're going to ask various entities, corporate citizens, to come and speak to us about, for example, it's called peer-to-peer advocacy, accountability actions, including how are we going to talk to in various communities around bringing the conversation around gender-based violence and celebrating a woman into communities. Now, one of the things that we're lucky, well, I would say lucky, we got under the project is a project bus. I don't know if you've seen it around. It's quite pretty. And on that bus, we have messages: break the silence, stop the silence, stop violence, and so on and so forth. So that bus is going to go through certain communities in Grenada, in St. George's side for now, and then we'll go to the north, where we'll be interfacing with persons in the community around what they feel should happen and what their stories are around gender-based violence. I think that is powerful. And also, we also going to look at how survivors and victims to, they need to move. When you look at the economic base of women in particular, especially those who are victims of violence, how there not always seem to be a shift to the lower end. How can we ramp up and scale up what they're doing? So, for example, we know a lot of women, they do the Tamara ball. They're survivors. One thing I admire about the Grenadian women, and I've been around the world, I just like the tenacity and how they would not be put down. They're forging ahead to, I must mind my child kind of thing. And so they do that. So how can you help them in a way that would put them on the right path in terms of ramping up their business, the economy? How do you talk to them about business? How do you talk to them about opening a bank account, what it is all about banking? And sometimes even these things can be very challenging for women. They go and they don't know which end is up in terms of which paper to put it on or whatever. So that we're going to open up for them and make sure we're celebrating them by giving them knowledge and information to move forward.
I think it's very important as well to have men as part of the conversation and involve them in the process, because if you're saying, of course, it happens. Women are also abusers, but when you look at the stats, men are higher up than women. But I think men should be involved in the process, because at the end of the day, if they are the perpetrators, we can't just teach women, okay, you have to learn to survive, you have to learn how to live after being abused in whatever way. You have to learn to move on and pick up the pieces. How about the conversation involving men, so then okay, this isn't something you should be doing. Teaching young boys to respect women. It's easy. It's better. It's okay to walk away from a situation that you see might escalate and get to a point of you being abusive. So it has to start from a young age, because I'm not sure if you're aware, you've seen videos circulating of young men involved in in fighting and all of that. Over the weekend, we had a death resulting from that stabbing incident, and another one hospitalized. And these are young men below their 20s. They have not even reached 20 yet. And if it's something they're accustomed with, if it's something that they see every day, it almost becomes a norm. They think it's okay, I can fight with this person, I can beat up this person, and it's like glorified. And you see people posting and liking and commenting on these things. So in everything we're doing, I think they have a huge part to play, even more so than the women, since they are the perpetrators. More forums, more educational programs, what have you, to enlighten them on as to why they shouldn't be violent or be abusive and all those things. So it's not just showing up women and telling women to survive and telling women walk away, but not even without getting to that step. How we can we prevent it? How can we teach our young men about violence and all those things? Um, I have a couple questions here. Let me see. Someone says, does the ministry have any sort of celebrations that include the youth, say at the time CC level?
Well, when we go to the community, we have we looking at our social system, which are intended to encourage building of individual communities. And when we look at community, we're not saying look at whether you're living in Wov or wherever as a community. Tam City is a community.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're looking at building community resilience. And so these kind of activities is tended to kind of facilitate the development of evidence-based community interventions. And so, yes, we can include TAMCC in our conversation because we have in the past interact with TAMCC in bringing our activity, what we're doing in the ministry to that space. So we could have that conversation when I leave here with, to include TAMCC in that in what we're doing for. And I want to stress that International Women's Day celebration is March 8th. But for us at the ministry, we'll be celebrating the whole month. So there's no way, it's not practically possible to do all that
everything in one day.
In one day. So over a period of time, we want to do it the whole of March so that all sides, different facet, different spaces we want to occupy in terms of bringing that message, as what you said, Arona, not only celebrating women's achievement, but also breaking that bias and looking forward to gender equality. So it's having a conversation with men on the block, because when we go out with our bus and we'll be going out in the various communities and having that conversation with men, sitting on the block or whatever space they occupy, we want to have that conversation. We have done it in the recent past, where we took the bus and we went around Grenada after the eastern side and coming down on the west. And it was one of the, I've been in this business quite a while, but I was impacted again of persons willing to share their stories, and in particular, young men. And you see, I think, this medium and this forum is great. Like you have a good reach. But for me, going on the ground, what we call the downstream end, where we can meet the people face to face. I know COVID had a lot to do, restricted our movements a lot. But going out there and speaking to people, you see where the situation, you're looking for empathy, you're looking for respect, you're looking for dignity, you're looking to project all those even to the people you speak to around, in particular the perpetrators, the young men and so on, of violence. And one thing I like about the project, the Spotlight Initiative project, it's not only speaking about gender-based violence, it is speaking about family violence. But what you just mentioned there about what happened over the weekend, that is a product of family violence. So it's male on male violence. And the project is also seeking to eradicate that as well. Because you can't have, we're looking at violence, woman, male on female violence, but we need to look at family violence and what is happening there and having the conversation around. One of the things we notice is that, social norms is a great driver of violence, whether it's female on female or male on female and male on male. We need to kind of look at how we continue to perpetrate and applaud. You said in the chat, you see people happy and glad that this person was taken out, kind of thing. No, you need to step back. This person, I'm sure the person didn't born that way. How did he get to that space? We need to interrogate the space. And for me, being long in the business, I'm beginning to realize and that you need to look at where the space that the perpetrator is occupying. What is happening there? What is driving them? What is making them think about doing what they do, the violence that is coming out there? and try to change that mindset. I think this is the way we need to be going forward if we really serious of eradicating violence against women and girls.
Okay, I have another question before we go. Someone here is asking, what are the resources provided by the state for women who are victims of gender-based violence?
Okay, so I did mention of the resources because um, when you come into the space, of course, we do what you call um, a fact sheet of what is happening, and then we look at what the problem, what is most urgent and needed. We take care of that. So the resources, what is they need food, as I said, they need to go to a shelter. We'll address all those, and then if it's something more long term, we will try to work with you because don't forget there's the Ministry of Social Development, Housing and Community Empowerment. So whatever your needs are, we try. Sometimes it's difficult, we know, but we're trying to make sure that your needs are taken care of. In particular, if you have children, we're very very concerned that the state doesn't want the children to be everywhere, and we look at those things and we make provision for those things.
Okay. We're getting ready to wrap up. Anything else you'd like to add as we look ahead to March 8th? And of course, after that, like you said, it's not a one-day celebration. Anything else that we need to know about?
Well, look for us, look out for our boss, and as we go through the community, and to help us, the responsibility is not only a state responsibility, not only the state, but it's all of us. Gender-based violence is all our business. It's everybody. It's our business. So we need to be looking out. We need to be our sister's keeper. We need to be our brother's keeper, and we need to move forward because we can chant, "I can, you can, we can," and be connecting families for a safer community. And I want to end here.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so very much. Like I said, it's been a while since I've seen you. Good to know that you're still firing and all cylinders regarding women's affairs and gender abuse and all of domestic violence and all of that. We've been doing this for quite a while, and it's good to see that you're still here at it. So thank you so very much for checking in with us today, and we look forward to having you again soon.
Yes, thank you. It's been a pleasure. It has been a while, but glad to be here and able to share with the public. Thank
Great.
you.
You're
Okay.
so
Have a
welcome.
good day. And
Thank you so
everybody
much.
enjoy your International Women's Day. All women, you can wear your orange the world, and
Orange.
show that you care.
All right.
Thank you.
So guys, wear your orange. All
And
right.
guys, wear your
Wear
orange.
your orange. All righty.
All right. Thank you.
So that's it for Ladies Room today, and tomorrow we'll have another amazing woman in the room in the hot seat. We will have Miss Leslie on Sion. She's going to be here, and I hope you guys will join us for that. She's just another amazing woman, so hope you guys will join us to that tomorrow inside of the ladies' room. All right, so that's same time, same place, and of course, thank you so much to our friends at Beacon Insurance and Western Union for making today's ladies' room possible, and thank you so much to everyone on the live tuned in and for your questions and of course your contributions. We'll see you right back here tomorrow, same time, same place for another one. Until then, have a great Monday, y'all.